Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Haunt Talk. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Fright Farm in Smithfield, PA, or as we like to refer to it as the Haunted Adventure. This ties in, haunted hayride, a trail, a giant haunted mansion, a slaughter hollow, which is like a barn full of chainsaw maniacs and stuff. So, if that sounds interesting to you at all, make sure to watch our whole review starting. To our review of Fright Farm. So again, as I kind of stated a little bit in the intro there, Fright Farm is a gargantuan haunt that consists of a lot of things. The hayride, which is pretty long. They have a whole outside portion with multiple mini haunted houses throughout this giant trail. And then again, the haunted mansion, which is the thing you see throughout most of it of when you're you used to be able to see it more from the place where you don't really wait in line, but you wait to get on the hay wagon. But they kind of blocked it off, which I like, so you kind of can't see the mansion. You can't really see the mansion too much until you actually board the hay wagon. You just see this giant red thing looming in the distance, and then the pull up when the hayride is done with its trail up to it is just really cool. Now, before we start the actual review and get into our categories, just want to talk a little bit about that waiting area, which we have before, but there's not many haunted houses that do this, but it's our favorite thing. There are no lines. You get a number, and then you are free to get food, which they have really good food. You should buy it. Their adorable gift shop, which has some great merch. Really cool merch. Not just what I like about the merch at Fright Farm is that it's not all just I'm a haunted house. They have some of that, but they also have just some cute stuff that you can just wear any time of year.
They had a whole big, huge thing of just beanies. Every color you could think of. And I'm like, wow.
Pastel color hoodies. And they have the orange and the blacks, I think, as well. And they had a really cute one. I'm kind of sad because I meant to buy it. But we were kind of it was getting late and we had a 2.5 hour drive to come home and stuff like that. But it had it was orange and I think it had a cat on it and a ghost something that said Fright Farm. It was really cool. But I just forgot to go back and buy it. But yeah, we just love it when haunts do that because, for one, it helps the haunt because they can make more money because people aren't waiting in line, so they can go do things and purchase money while they wait. And it makes it so you don't have to wait in line. They have fire bills and stuff. Oh, they also have mini games and mini escape rooms you can do too.
I think I saw axe throwing as well.
Yeah.
They had glass bottle breaking.
Yeah, real glass bottles it sounded like. So we heard people shattering them on our way out.
Yeah, they have a stage where they usually have bands and musicians and stuff.
Yep, they had a musician play. There wasn't a whole band, but there's a solo artist that was playing on the stage. And the music on the stage is set to. The lights on the stage are set to music and stuff, so they move around, which is cool. And that was a new addition a year or two ago, I think. But as soon as you walk up to Fright Farm, it feels like a party, which I really like. I just really wish that more haunts were able to or willing to do stuff like that, because again, I just think it benefits the consumer and the haunt. But now that we're done talking about the Midway, it's time to get onto our actual review, which as always means we must refer to the Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Alright, so as always, we are going to begin our review discussing the thing that's going to always take the longest, and especially with this place, sets and props, because they have the sets and they have the props in droves.
All of them.
So we'll kind of talk about it just in order of how you go through it. We'll start with the hayride, I guess.
So the hayride, they added quite a few new scenes this year, which was great because I noticed the last few years it was kind of there wasn't much going on. You were just kind of...
They weren't changing much. I would say there's probably equally as much going on. There's maybe a couple extra things, but...
But it was nice to see that they actually changed some stuff up. They had an alien scene at one point.
This is small, but there was a little alien scene.
Little alien scene. The only thing that was kind of disappointing was there was no reward for the alien scene.
Yeah, because there's a scene, there's a little tiny UFO in the forest, and someone's screaming about, and I mean this kind of ties in actors, but I have to kind of mention it. But they're basically talking about, the aliens are coming or whatever, and there's someone at the gas station also talking about the aliens. And then it's followed by a Five Nights at Freddy's spoof barn.
Yeah.
And the aliens are never mentioned again. It's like, it's like, oh, here we go. There's going to be aliens in this barn. And then we drive up and I see like the thing. And very obviously it's going to be Five Nights at Freddy's, which was cool. We'll talk about it in a minute. But I was like, it seemed like we were leading up to aliens because everyone's screaming the aliens are coming. But then there were none. There were no aliens.
No aliens.
So it was weird again. Like, I mean, it's kind of a minor complaint, but it, kind of strange.
Yeah.
I will kind of double back the cemetery scene, which is always cool. I feel I think they added more. It seemed like more fog, more lights. Well, Kim thinks there might be more of a cemetery. I thought
there was another cemetery in there because there's like the main big one that has like the big mausoleum and the big graves and stuff, and then as we drove past like these little bit of trees, there was like a little tiny cemetery like tucked in the corner with just like little tiny crosses. Like I'm almost thinking maybe they put a pet cemetery or something.
Yeah, I'm not
I don't
sure.
know. But that was really cool.
So the Five Nights at Freddy barn is the first because there's 2 barns that you stop in. It was pretty cool. I forget, do you remember what they called it?
It was called Cheesies.
Cheesies, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it was pretty cheesy.
It was neat because like they were playing that, what's the song? I see you talking in your sleep. That song.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's from the horrible, awful, atrocious movie that is Five Nights at Freddy's. I despise that movie, and I can't believe anyone actually enjoys watching it. It's horrible. Yeah. A lot of people like the game, and that's fine. Man, the movie's horrible. Because I watched it because we were going to Halloween Horror Nights, which some of the people that do this stuff are Fright Farm, very big fans of Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah. So you see like little things trickle in sometimes there too, which I enjoy. But it was cool because like when the music would start playing, they'd be moving and then it would stop. They'd stop, act like animatronics. But then when the music's done, it gets all warped and stuff. Then the lights go off and then the lights turn back on. And instead of instruments, they have chainsaws.
Yeah.
And they were pretty aggressive with the chainsaws.
They were really aggressive with the chainsaws. My goodness. I was actually kind of scared at one point because they were like this close to my face.
Yeah, they were getting close. And that was pretty much all for that scene. Then you leave. That I think that the train scene changed a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just leave that for you to discover. But it seems like there is a little something added to that. They had the skeletons that talk have been somewhere the last couple of years. Sometimes they're the ones that introduce you to the house. This year, they were like Beavis and Butthead, and they were like telling jokes or something.
Yeah, they were Beavis and Butthead, which I thought was funny. Except it kind of like the wagon lagged a little longer than it probably should have sitting there. So like they were done talking and we were still kind of sitting there for a few seconds and I'm like,
I didn't mind the scene.
Nothing happening.
It was a little hard to hear them, but there needed to be a payoff at the end, like someone coming out the other side of the woods or even just a bang. I thought there was going to be a scare and then after they just the animatronic stopped moving and then you sit there for like, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds, then you just go and it's like, I mean, whatever. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like some other scenes before the big barn. I know there's like some villages and stuff like that. And all of it's cool and lit up. Mm-hmm. It's crazy all the buildings they've built back there.
There's a Christmas village.
Oh yeah, the Christmas village. That was new.
There's a Christmas village that was new, where it looked like the elves kind of got sick of Santa and Mrs. Claus's BS, and they were
rapping.
They were wrapping her in Christmas lights, and then Krampus was there at one point roasting.
I couldn't see much over on that side.
Yeah, I was all the way he was roasting a reindeer.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's messed up. I didn't see that.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think what else was
there. Is a witch scene that I don't remember. I remember seeing the witch scene, but it never working later on. But now it seemed like there's actually someone like stirring it and like
Mm-hmm.
Now my favorite addition they made is the second barn because it had been for a while. It was really cool before too. It was like this flame throwing show.
Yeah.
But now it's like a magic. kind of like a really messed up magic show.
Yeah.
That I thought was really cool. So there's like 2 acts. One happens on the right side. One happens on the left side. The first like magic act is sawing someone in half, but since it's a messed up carnival, there's a cool gag where like there's a little bucket and she's like whoop, pulling things out and throwing it. That's not it. And then she pulls out this like 12-foot long chainsaw out of it, and it's like, oh, there's that. And then she cuts the person in half, but of course since it's messed up, she actually cuts them in half. And when she splits the box open, they're all bloody, and then it shoots blood all over it's just water, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little touch that we got squirted with water and stuff like that. And then the second side was Human Cannonball.
Yeah,
didn't go well.
It was kind of funny because the lights are off and then it you hear the cannon shoot and the light turns on and there's just a splatty ball of goo above where you have to then drive under that goes into a giant vortex tunnel that they've had for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that they had the toxic waste scene, which they've had for a while. There might have been a couple things added to that, I'm not sure, but and And then after that, there was a dragon, which I think was new.
I think so.
They didn't have the drones this year. Remember, they had a drone the year before, and they would chase you around with a little guy hanging off of it.
Oh, that's right.
I'm assuming there's probably some kind of technical complication with that, because it was probably a nightmare. But you get a fire-breathing dragon this year, so that was cool.
That was cool.
But then you just have your slow, like, last minute or so, like, meandering drive up to the mansion, which is always cool.
Mm-hmm.
When you get there, they had a really cool new prop. So this year, every year they have, like, I'm trying to think of the right way they kind of like word it. There's like a secondary theme to the haunt. Like, it doesn't change everything, but it usually weaves its way through most of the haunt.
Mm-hmm.
And this year was entombed, so it was kind of like, Egyptian mummies, that kind of thing. And there's a giant mummy that I don't think, was it? Yeah, it was talking, because there was like an actor.
Yeah, the mummy was moving around, and like, he was grunting. He wasn't really talking, but he was like kind of thing. So the whole, like, if you actually go to their website and stuff like that, they actually have like a whole little backstory with the whole entombed thing. It's basically that somebody buried a pharaoh on the grounds of where Fright Farm is, and he was rediscovered, and he basically cursed everything that's in there. So there's like, it's supposed to be like everything is kind of got this little bit of this pharaoh's curse into it.
Yeah.
But mostly the end part, like in the mansion, is your big payoff of the entombed.
And I do want to state real quick, too, if you're interested in seeing behind the scenes of this place, last year, in 2024, we filmed like a behind the scenes thing, so we don't have a nighttime walkthrough. Scare Factor actually has a pretty good one if you want to see what it looks like at night, but we have like a behind the scenes, like in-depth tour. We also talked to one of the people that works there named PJ and stuff like that, who's like interviewed a lot through it. But, so now we're kind of getting into the actual haunt itself, because the hayride is, it's cool, but it's kind of almost like I don't even know, like a prerequisite to getting to the haunt.
Appetizer.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I wonder if like at one point it was just like if it just used to be transportation and they added things and made it a whole hayride.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just crazy how long this thing is, which we'll talk more about in value. But yeah, so you enter the mansion just very briefly. This part did seem slightly extended. Usually it was like one turn, then you're out, but it seems like they added just a little bit to the very first time you go into the mansion. It's kind of almost like, it's kind of like a sewer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sewer that you go through. And then you go into probably at least, if not my favorite, one of my favorite cemeteries in a haunt. They have the lightning, the thunder. There's all these beautiful headstones and mausoleums that a lot of them you walk into. The one you walk under, then you switch around and go on top. Mm-hmm. Just beautiful. They always do an honoring, I guess, of a dead celebrity that like died that year. And this year was Hulk Hogan. You said
Hulk Hogan was in the first tomb, and then they did an elaborate one for Ozzy.
Yeah, and the one where Ozzy is not. They usually only do like one celebrity, but I think
they usually
year,
just do the one. But then as we're walking, there was another. You could hear the music.
And I was wondering, like, why is there rock music coming out of this one mausoleum? And then we're like, oh, okay.
And then we went in, and there was Ozzy sitting on a throne. So it was like, oh, okay, they're doing two this year.
Yeah, so that was neat. And then you turn, so after you go through that, one new section, I forget exactly where this was, but I'm going to just talk about it here. It used to be a cage maze. This year it was like a whole like church scene with like pews and stuff. So very open scene. I don't know if something was supposed to happen in there. Nothing happened when we were in there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we missed something or what there. But one of the sections, either after that or before that, I'm having a hard time remembering. I think it's after that. It used to be like a Halloween village.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd walk through this cool archway of pumpkins. And you'll see that if you watch the documentary made. So this year they changed the theme to cursed, and it's like witches. I will say, like, this is just a personal preference thing, because I think they did a good job of it, but I did like the old trick-or-treating one better, because that's just my favorite aesthetic is old-school Halloween. Mm-hmm. But, they decided to change it, and it's still, I think the only thing that I really was like, meh, about is, like, the tunnel that was pumpkins now just has, like, burlap hanging from it.
Yeah, there was a few, like,
hit as hard.
corpse skeletons and some, like, scarecrows and stuff. But, yeah, the pumpkins was just
It was just so cool.
Really
it was one of my favorite things, and now that's gone. But, I mean,
Yeah.
again, they changed things. But there is a really cool thing as you're walking through the town. I mean, this is kind of an actor's, but it's also kind of a set and prop. Mm-hmm. But they're basically burning a witch at the stake, and they have, like, what looks like fire and smoke billowing up. And, so that was cool. And then you go through, like, it's a farmhouse.
Yeah. And that's almost like a little mini haunt before you get to the main haunt kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just a little mini haunted house you walk through, and then you go through this wharf, which was they've had this before, but they really revamped it last year. And I think they might have touched some, I don't know, they might have added a little more. It's really hard to tell because, again, there's so much at this haunt. Trying to remember everything you see year to year is crazy.
It is.
But you walk through, I mean, there's even a running water mill. When you go through that, that's a really small building. There's like 2 rooms in there, but still you get to walk through it, which is cool. They have a ship that they built, like an old tugboat looking thing.
Yep.
And then you go through like a little greenhouse, and then you get to the actual house proper.
So again, the house actually has like a couple little themes inside it. They still have the Hotel Hawthorne, which was their big theme from last year. So you go into this like spooky little hotel kind of thing there, and
well, that's because that's after, because you go through like the main mansion, which is pretty much all haunted mansion themes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because there's like kitchens, there's a library. You go through, I think it's supposed to be like an attic. It's an upstairs section.
Yeah.
They opened it up a year or 2 ago, where you actually walk on a balcony for a moment. So you actually get to look out over. That's cool. So yeah, you go through all of that stuff. Nothing there that I really noticed, at least, changed much. There might have been changes here or there, but they didn't change that too much. Then you get to the Hotel Hawthorne, which there's a couple rooms added. I forget which rooms were added exactly, because we only been through this one time, so it's a little bit hard to like go from memory.
Yeah. Well, I think what we were told was that the last couple rooms in that area were changed to Adventurers Club. So there was like a lot of like mounted animal heads and relics and stuff like that. There was a lot of those like African masks and things like that kind of stuff in there.
Which I don't want to... This, again, could fall on actors, could fall on sets and props. There's a cool stuffed bear that I believe is actor-controlled, I'm pretty sure. And it gets, like, thrusted at you. Like, it's a whole, like, stuffed, like, bear, and they just kind of thrust it at you, which I thought was neat scare. The Hotel Hawthorne is really cool because the basement used to just kind of be, like, basement, dungeony, sewer-themed. And this is, like, Tower of Terror kind of vibe. Yeah. Just a lot of really cool scenes in there. Stuff you would expect, but done really well. And then you get to their big room, which they completely gut and redo every year. And this is either my favorite or second favorite, not sure which. My favorite up until this point was they did one year, it was like a frozen tundra with like,
wolves.
Yeah, wolves, and there might have been yetis.
Yetis, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just really cool. But usually how you enter is you walk up all these steps and you enter the room from the top. So it's like this grand review down. Well, since it's entombed, you walk into the room and there's a giant pyramid. And you have to walk across this rickety bridge. They made it purposely rickety so like the boards move. You have to walk into the pyramid, and then you actually go downstairs inside the pyramid. Then they added, usually then you're pretty much done with the area when you like go there, but now they actually have it so you have to path and circle around and really stay in there longer, which is nice. Just a lot of really cool themes. It's very similar to the Mummy queue, which we talked about. There's, like the hanging sarcophagus. It was like a sarcophagus, something like that.
Yeah, there was a sarcophagus that was hanging. Just a lot of like, excavation props and
there's
things.
Like one of those giant like feet from a sphinx or whatever, like a statue.
Yeah, like a big statue. Things you would find if you were like looking for this kind of stuff in Egypt and stuff.
Like the flickering lights you would think you would see like at an excavation tent because you walk through the tents.
Yeah.
And then something I really liked is so usually after that room you go into something that's never fit the haunt. And I don't remember what they did with this last year. I think they made it a little better last year, but this year they went a lot more with it, where it just kind of turned into like a black light wickety whack room, which just never fit. But now they still have the wickety whack stuff, but it has like the Egyptian stuff on the walls and looks like bricks. So I believe it starts with wickety whack tiles, the ones that kind of move, and then you go, I might have this a little backwards, but eventually you go through a vortex tunnel, which don't bother us too much, but this one was like running slower than normal, which somehow really kind of
I was disorientating,
messed me up. But the most mean-spirited hilarious part directly after it is you go to like a wickety whack room where the floors are like this, so you already have no balance and you walk off in the floor slant and you just start stumbling around and you're trying to like walk on this weird tilted floor. And then you go up to another tilted section with a low ceiling, and like you can barely stand at this point.
I literally was doing this the entire time.
Yeah, this is really funny. It was really hilarious. And then after you finish that, you go to Slaughter Hollow. Not a lot to talk about in sets and props because the whole point of that is like a final, like a grand finale of just actors trying to kill you. Which again, we will talk much more about this haunt in Actors, but basically it's basically themed to the barn that it's in.
Yeah.
It is a barn with red lights. It's very loud in there, a lot of rock music, and then again, lots of chainsaws and stuff, so we'll save that. But yeah, and then you're done with the haunt. So, I mean, even though we had a couple, like, little minor things, like, oh, we kind of like this different, I still think that this is one of the most beautiful haunts there is, and sets and props for years now. We've been giving it a 10. No different this year because, again, a lot of the stuff has been even improved this year. Every year they've been improving this place, and yeah, this is a must-do. Yeah, you definitely have to go to this place. But yeah, sets and props a 10. So now we are going to talk about actors.
So there was actually quite a bit. Usually,
especially on the hayride. Usually there's not a lot on the hayride, which is like kind of surprising because it's hard to scare people on hayrides because, you know, you're kind of just sitting and having things happen to you. Whereas, you know, it's a little bit more easier when you're in an actual haunted house or walking through. There was a lot on there. Some of them I feel like were a little misplaced. Yeah, the main one was at the very beginning of the cemetery.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple other spots that could have used some actors, but there's like a scene in the cemetery where there's like someone running saying, "Oh, don't let him kill me," and then two people tackle her to the ground, and then that's like the end of the scene. One of them might have boarded the hayride after that, but I'm like, I just feel like it would have been better instead of that weird little scene that, I don't know, didn't do much for me, like having him hide in the woods and just doing jump scares. Yeah. That is one thing, and a lot of hayrides don't do this anymore, and I highly recommend just have roaming actors. Can of beans. I'm like, people want to be scared, just give them the can of beans, and they hide in the woods, hit the can of beans, everyone will scream, because it's a loud noise and no one's expecting. It's people in black, like, you know, black robes. That's what we did at the haunt that I used to work at, and I would scare people all the time as a child. Like, have a couple roaming actors. If I could recommend one change for next year, maybe take a couple of the people that are doing the scene stuff and just have a couple roaming actors with a can of beans. That's literally it. But, let's see. So yeah, I mean, like, some standouts for the hayride. Well, one thing I liked is they got on the hayride a lot more this year.
Yeah.
It seemed, at least.
Yeah.
Especially the chainsaw people and like the Five Nights at Freddy barn. They were really aggressive and sticking them right in your face, like Kim was saying. That was really good. A lot of dialogue. The people in the Christmas town, there's a lot of them. They were just doing all kinds of crazy stuff to each other, which was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. The toxic spill, those guys came up onto the thing and they were like getting in people's faces with like flashlights and stuff like that.
Yeah. We already talked about the circus show and what they did, but all those people were really good. They did a really good job with like their mannerisms and stuff because they didn't really talk. Because, well, did they? I don't think they had dialogue. I think there was like an announcer speaking, but
there was I think they were like lipping things, but
maybe.
One thing I wanted to notice was I don't know if you noticed, but everybody that was in the circus tent was female.
I guess it
was all girls.
Yeah, I guess I did notice that because like even one was kind of dressed as Art the Clown, but she was like a female version of Art the Clown.
Yeah,
not the scary little girl, just but. Yeah, it was nice to see a lot more actors on the hayride because I would just like to see some roaming ones. But there was quite a few. On the outside sections, definitely where there was the least amount, but it does make sense because, again, I guess it had stormed really heavily early that night, and there was some decent amount of call-offs. I assume the people that call off were the people that were supposed to work outside. Now, that is not to say there was like none. There's still an okay amount, but the outside section's always been more about just being pretty cool instead of super scary. Usually the scary part's more reserved for the inside and Slaughter Hollow. And I mean, it's just the way it is. But there was like a cool guy, like we think he was supposed to be like, what'd you say, like the gravekeeper or something like that?
Yeah, I think there was like a gravekeeper at the beginning because he was kind of telling us like, you know, like I wouldn't go in there or you're, you know, there's spirits and blah blah blah. He was just kind of saying a bunch of stuff, and I think he was trying to talk to you, but I don't think you were listening to him.
No, I forget what he was telling me because I was telling Stevie and them something, and he said something about I'm supposed to be the storyteller here or something.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what he said.
I think I saw he threw him for a loop, and I'm like, well, tell a story, and then he just kind of like, and then he just started talking to Kim because he was like, oh, I don't know what to say, which is kind of funny. I wasn't trying to like put him on the spot. I just was trying to say something back, and that's what came to my head. They usually have, which I like, they don't really ever jump scare. There's just these like ghost girls that'll just roam the cemetery just being weird, which I like. They don't really interact with you because I think the point is they're just wandering spirits.
Yes.
So I like that.
Yeah,
that they
I
do that.
Too.
They just kind of in their flowy gowns, just walking around, which is neat. We talked about the witch. She was really cool. And there's a lot of, that whole scene was cool because it was very frantic and it made me like feel a little panicky. They didn't really do jump scares, but just everyone's yelling like, burn the witch, and she's like putting curses on them and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really neat. The house directly after that, the farmhouse, there was a person that was in there but it was just cool, like the way the person was dancing and stuff like that. They were very flowy and like ethereal, but then randomly they would turn and like jump scare the people in the hallway that was on the other side of the room. So they were just really cool. And of course, like they always have just like really good costuming and stuff like that in this place. They've always done a good job with that. I do wish the house had Well, the house had a decent amount. I wish there was a little bit more. We kept catching up to people, so that kind of made it so we didn't get as many scares. But, you know, they do have some really cool hiding spots inside of there, like places you wouldn't think of. But there was a little more dead space than we have seen in years past. And again, I think it's because it's homecoming and, you know,
you're right.
The rain. And also, I mean, this haunt is so gargantuan. Because we were talking to that guy PJ, and he said there's like 100 people there that night, which for most haunts that would be so many, but for a haunt that's a 1 hour long and has a hayride, walking trail, all this stuff, like to really fully staff it to the amount that most people are probably expecting, you would need, I think he says like a maximum what was like 130, 140.
Yeah, usually on like when what he considers full is like a 130.
But usually, like he said, you just can't have that every night. People are going to call. I mean, that's so many people. It's such a long haunt. But yeah, so I mean, you really can't complain too much about it, but it was kind of, you know, noticeable. There was that bear guy, the bellhop inside the hotel. I remember was pretty cool. I don't know what he said, but he has a boob pedal. He comes out saying stuff.
Yeah, the mummies and the entombed were pretty cool because they were just kind of like just walking, like, you know, like mummies do, just very slow moving and stuff like that. And they were trying to like weave themselves in and out and trying to get everybody. They were pretty cool.
And then there's Slaughter Hollow, which is basically solely focused on actors. So there's a cool like little pre-show. Like, I call it cool, which is then I'm going to describe it. It basically sounds like a psychopath. Where basically they like blow someone's brains out all over you with like a air compressor gun.
Yeah.
You can actually bypass this haunt too. And the reason why, and it probably says on the sign, they've never done this before, but it wasn't a lot. But at the end, they grabbed and touched you and rubbed the chainsaws all over us, which I've had happen in haunts before, but never here, so it really took me by surprise.
It did. It really did. Yeah. I was watching them because I was in the back. I was the caboose this time. And I was watching as everybody was getting touched by the chainsaw. And I'm just like, they're touching here.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I guess I'll get the little back massage with the chainsaw too. And somebody grabbed my head like this a couple times.
Yeah, I was grabbed by the shoulders a few times.
Yeah.
Like light grabbing, nothing crazy,
Nothing
not like
huge,
haunted,
yeah.
not like haunted hoochie level, but the whole haunt, it's a very short haunt. I would say maybe 5 minutes tops. It's not supposed to be, again, it's supposed to be just like a grand finale to like really get you a bunch of scares, so when you leave, you're basically panting, and it worked. Now this wasn't our favorite because we like sets and props, but the people we're with, you know, they don't go to haunted houses a lot, and they just really just like getting jump scared, which is kind of cool because it kind of gives a little bit more of a general public vibe to us. And they were like, well, that was the best part. And I'm like, I mean, it had the most scares, but what about all the other cool stuff? They're like, well, I just want scares, and that was the best part. And I'm like, and I guess that is more of a general public probably view. Like, I just want scares. I don't care if it's dark hallways. I just want scares. Now, that is not the way we view it at all. And I know there's a lot of people that appreciate the artistry, but I think, like, your average teenager that's just, you know, going through a haunt, that's what they care about, you know, probably the most. But I just thought it was an interesting thing. But yeah, there's a lot of good scares, but the end part is always just chaotic because it's basically like a, I don't know what you want to describe it as. There's like a stage in the middle, and you walk around in like a square, and there's just people with chainsaws, and they will make you duck under them, except now they'll grab you, run them up your back, and there's just chainsaws in your face everywhere. I'm not really scared of chainsaws anymore, but this place does freak me out because it's so loud. There's the rock music, the like, I think it's like strobing lights, and it's so disorienting because you just think you're going to get knocked by a chainsaw.
Yeah, like literally they were like this close to your face, and it was just like, is very chaotic. I want to point out a couple of actors that I really liked in the Slaughter Hollow was the one that grabbed you at the beginning. They had a chicken mask on.
She was weird. I forgot about her.
And she had a baby in one of those carriers, but I think it was like one of those werewolf babies.
It was. I think it might have been a decaying chicken, maybe, or something.
Or I don't know.
I think it had a beak. I think
it had arms and legs and stuff. So I think maybe it was a hybrid. Who knows? But she grabbed him to
maybe pet it.
Him pet it, and then she grabbed him and dragged him into the show. And then there was, in that first room, there was this really tall, huge guy with no shirt, and he had like suspenders on. I want to know where he came from because, oh my goodness, he was huge, like Andre the Giant big. If you know who Andre the Giant is, Google him. It's worth it. But those were really big standouts in the Slaughter Hollow for sure. Yeah. They all did a really good job at Slaughter. I mean, all of them that were here did a really good job. But yeah, actors, we gave an 8.5, so we really liked them. Needed a little bit more for our experience. But again, I think that if you go on a nicer night, probably closer to Halloween, there's probably going to be more actors, and it'll probably be closer like a 9 or something. But so scare factor, we're just going to kind of, I mean, I don't think there's too much more to talk about because we've talked about so much there. So
Scare factor, it is decently scary. It's not the most intense haunt because that's not exactly what they're aiming for. So just kind of putting everything together, we're going to give it a 7 because the haunt it's so long, which we're about to talk about in a minute in value, but it kind of goes back and forth between being like the hayride was a lot more intense, and then you have the outside part, which is less intense, and then the inside part, which is kind of like mildly intense, more intense in the outside part, and then you have the real intense part, which is Slaughter Hollow. So it kind of evens itself out nice. So yeah, altogether we, gave it a 7 for scare factor. So value, I time every haunt, and you will probably be in a little longer because we had express, we didn't really wait in any lines. But it took us from the time the hayride started moving to the time that we left Slaughter Hollow's barn. It was 1 hour, like, on the dot.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Like, not an hour and 1 minute. It was like 1 hour when I hit the stop. And I'm like, well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a little bit longer than it normally is. Let me pull up the review from last year to see how long it took us last year. Okay, well, actually, weird, it felt longer, but I put 60 minutes, so I guess it is the same time as last year.
We did get that one little section. I don't know if you stopped your timer at all. We did get kind of dead stopped in front of the farmhouse.
Well, oh, you mean like the big house? I didn't stop it, but I mean, I just because most people are going to be waiting in multiple lines there, so I didn't stop it for that. Like, if you were to take that away, but last year it was 60 minutes as well. I actually thought, this year I thought was a little bit longer, but this is why I take notes, so. Because, like I said, there are scenes you were in for longer, like the entombed scene and stuff, so I am surprised, but, it is what it is. I mean, an hour is longer than most haunts you will go to. This is probably it's definitely the longest house we consistently go to. I'm trying to think of a longer one we've been to. I can't really off the top of my head. We are doing Reaper's Revenge. That might change. I've heard that one's crazy long. I don't know how long, but I'm thinking it's close to Fright Farm length. So we'll see. You'll have to stay tuned for our review on that because we've never been there, so we're super excited. But yeah, so an hour long. They have weird ticketing prices. I don't think we're going to go over all of it, but you can kind of quickly go through.
I'll just do the general. So right now in September, it's $35 for Fridays and Saturdays, $25 for Thursdays, $30 for Sundays. And then in October, it's $40 for Fridays and Saturdays. The other dates, Thursdays and Sundays, stay the same.
Yeah, and then let's see. Last year, it was a little bit different. Sundays were $25 last year to $30, but it says last year I had Fridays at $35 and then Saturdays at $40. It probably changed, but that's all I put there. So, and then the Fast Pass also I think varies by the day that you get.
Yeah. It looks like it's about $20 more.
This is a weird kind of recommendation, but if you're not trying to do other haunted houses that night, I'd say you probably don't need to do the Fast Pass unless it's really busy, because since you don't wait in line, you can just vibe. Especially if you're going with a bunch of friends, just hang out by a fire, get some drinks, whatever you want to do, get some food and just
go play
hang
some
out.
Games, listen to some music.
Exactly. So I really think unless it's really, really busy and you're going to be there for hours and hours, you don't really need to do the Fast Pass because of the fact that you can do all that stuff for fun. But yeah, value, I mean, you just don't get much more value out of a haunt than this. And they're charging, again, sometimes they're charging $40, but like Reaper's Revenge, for example, which again, don't know the quality in comparison, but I can't imagine the quality is going to be insanely more. They're charging I think $60 for a base ticket.
I think it's
minimum.
60,
I think 60 is the least you can get there, so they're charging at the most expensive 20 under that. Because we got Fast Passes on sale for Reapers and it was 80.
Yeah.
So, and again, maybe the Caliber is something crazy I've never seen before in my life. I don't know yet. But I'm just saying, compared to haunts we go to, $30 to $40 for an hour-long haunt that has all of this is just amazing value. So we gave it a 10. I just do not see how they could really do much more value, especially with the not having to wait in line thing.
Right.
So yeah, overall, kind of averaging this stuff, we kind of felt like it was about the same as last year. Some things were better, some things were slightly worse than last year. So we're going to give it the same score we gave it last year, which is a 9.25. Really, really good. One of the best haunts, that's out there, and we highly recommend that you go. It's probably not feasible for them just because of all the trouble, but it would be really cool if they do a touch pass at some point.
Oh gosh.
Maybe that's because, again, they've dabbled with it before. With this year with Slaughter Hollow, and the 1 year they did a sensory deprivation tent where they would touch you and spray you with things and put feather dusters in your face.
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool if maybe they can incorporate a full touch pass for the whole experience, because I think it would add a lot. So a big one we use as an example, Blood Prison, without the touch pass is not that scary because so much of it is open. where if you're not just freaked about your prison, it's not super scary, but just jump scares. But you get that touch pass, and it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
I think if they added touch pass, this would be a similar situation where it's a whole different ball game, because now you're taking that dead space and you're just relieved that there's dead space because you're not getting ravaged right now. I mean, that's just how it is for all the touch pass haunts. Is it makes the dead space relieving instead of boring. And not to say that this haunt is boring anyway. So there's always something amazing to look at. It's not ever boring. But I'm saying though, for people that really want that scare, which we like both, but at the end of the day, scares kind of are my favorite part of haunts.
Yeah.
Having a touch pass would be amazing. So if it's possible at all, you guys, should 100% do that. But yeah, I think that, does it for this review. It's always one of our longer ones because it's just haunt. There's so much to talk about. It's so huge. And they change a lot every year, so there's so much we want to talk about. And it's just one of our favorite places. It just feels cool. I don't know. It's just neat.
Yeah.
And they also, the people we brought, they weren't super on 100 Acre. They're like, but they loved this place. Even though Slaughter Hollow was their favorite just because of the scares, everything else. They were still able to appreciate how beautiful everything else was too, though. But yeah, I think that does it for review. Make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing, also make sure you're ringing that notification bell.
Ding, 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 ding.
So you don't miss any future upcoming videos, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye.